everyone, MJ Kinman here, and welcome to the 5th month of our Diamonds and Drama Queens adventure. This month's stone is absolutely chock full of all kinds of drama queens and drama kings as well, and I'm really looking forward to sharing them with you. So this is the Maximilian Emerald. I'm calling the pattern Maximilian's Folly. This gemstone is part of the Smithsonian collection of the National Gem Collection. It weighs just over 21 carats and it measures almost an inch in length, just over half an inch in width, and just under half an inch in depth. It's a classic emerald cut, and it has this fabulous rich grass green color that's really indicative of fine Colombian emeralds. And again, it also has these wispy inclusions and the veils that are also typical of Colombian emeralds. The Maximilian Emerald gets its name from this handsome guy, Archduke of Austria, Ferdinand Maximilian Joseph. He was the brother of the Emperor of Austria at the time, Franz Joseph of the House of Habsburg. Here is Max with his lovely wife, Carlotta. Now, he loved botany. He loved pursuing the study of plants, but he was also a gem collector as well. And he often went to the Amazon rainforest, to South America, to study plant life and to find gems. During one of those expeditions, he bought 2 gorgeous diamonds, and we think the emerald. Let me tell you a little bit about the diamonds because they are definitely interesting stories. The 42-carat oval, named the Emperor Maximilian diamond, was acquired by legendary London jeweler Lawrence Graff. We've talked about Lawrence Graff before, and some of my art quilts are inspired by some of his gems. He then sold it to Imelda Marcos. We all know who Imelda Marcos is, the Queen of Shoes and wife of a really terrible dictator in the Philippines, after being whisked away on the presidential yacht. And they ended up at a place called Bamboo Island, a private island where everything is made of bamboo. And he sold her 3 diamonds worth $10 million on that trip. So let me tell you in his own words, his adventure with that. In the early 80s, I was invited to visit the Philippines after lady in waiting to Madame Marcos, wife of the president, saw an exhibition I'd put on in Hong Kong. I went to Manila with 3 stones, the Idol's Eye, the Sultan Abdul Hamid II diamond, and the Emperor Maximilian diamond. I was invited to the Melong Palace with an audience with Madame Marcos. That evening, I was invited on the presidential yacht for dinner. I arrived with the 3 diamonds in my pocket, and an hour later, the president and Madame Marcos arrived on board. The yacht pulled away from the quay and started to cruise around the harbor, or so I thought. I was having a great time and suddenly wondered where we were going because I could see the lights in the harbor getting dimmer and dimmer, and I realized we're going out to sea, surrounded by warships. At 5 in the morning, the yacht slowed down and I thought it had come back into port, but it hadn't. We had arrived on Bamboo Island, a private island owned by the Marcos family where everything was made from bamboo, the houses, the furniture, everything. I was given a house to myself and a wardrobe of traditional Filipino formal shirts. I remember phoning home saying, "Don't worry about me. I've been kidnapped by the president and his wife." We stayed on Bamboo Island for nearly a week, during which I sold the 3 diamonds for a figure in excess of $10 million. By the way, it was one of the biggest diamond deals ever to go down with one individual at the time. And Graff had larger transactions since, but that was his first real haul, selling those 3 diamonds. Okay, so the second stone that Max picked up was a 33-carat stone that he presented to his wife, Princess Carlotta, whom he married in 1856 at the age of 24. She actually was the daughter of Emperor Leopold I of Belgium. And I thought this was a really pretty picture of an old antique cut diamond, was surrounded by smaller antique cut diamonds. And he may have acquired the 21 karat emerald on one of these trips, but no one really knows for sure the exact origins of this gemstone. He retired early from the Austrian Navy, after which he was enticed by Napoleon III, this guy, and a group of exiled Mexican landowners living in Europe to be Emperor of Mexico. Napoleon III of France wanted Mexico. He had imperialistic ambitions in North America, while the exiles and the Catholic Church, they wanted to regain property that had been confiscated by the Mexican government of Benito Juarez. So Napoleon persuaded young Maximilian to go over there and overthrow the current Emperor Juarez, because Napoleon had duped him, really, had convinced him by everybody involved that he would be warmly welcomed by the Mexican people as a replacement for Juarez. So the French army, with early support from Britain and Spain, occupied Mexico City in 1863 and drove Juarez and his army almost to the border by April 1865. So Max and his wife Carlotta were crowned Emperor and Empress of Mexico on June 10th, 1864 in Mexico City. Here's a lovely picture of dear Carlotta, in her Empress finery. So things didn't go well. In fact, things went pretty bad pretty quickly. Max embraced popular reforms that supported the people, and that didn't make Napoleon or the exiles happy. He quickly antagonized his European backers when he upheld land reform laws of Juarez and advocated for educating the poor. In addition, the United States, no longer preoccupied by the Civil War, demanded in 1865 that France remove its troops from Mexico. So by March 1867, the last French soldiers left Mexico, and Juarez quickly regained control of Mexico City. Max was arrested, and Empress Carlotta actually traveled to Europe to ask Napoleon III and then the Pope to aid her husband, but they refused. So Emperor Maximilian, age 35, was executed by firing squad on June 10th on a hill outside of Mexico City. Again, it was 3 years to the day he was crowned emperor. Edward Manet captured the scene in the painting The Execution of Emperor Maximilian. You may have seen this in art books and school books. I certainly have, and I always wondered what was the deal. And now we know the story behind this painting. So let's talk about the next chapter in the stone's life. Cartier, we know a lot about Cartier, don't we? The three brothers, Louis, Pierre, and Jacques. They acquired the Maximilian emerald and sold it to Marjorie Merriweather Post in 1929. I don't really know, but they may have acquired it after the death of Carlotta in 1929 and then turned around and sold it to Marjorie Merriweather Post. Now, Marjorie Merriweather Post was the only child of Ella and C.W. Post. You may recognize that name. He was the pioneer of the cereal industry and founder of the Postum Cereal Company, later to become General Foods. When C.W., who was in ill health, died in 1914, Marjorie became one of the wealthiest women in America when she was 27 years old. C.W. sadly died by his own hand. He killed himself at a California health resort. He was very much a health fanatic and was trying everything he possibly could to regain his health, and was very demoralized that he just wasn't getting better. You know, I really enjoyed reading about Marjorie. It's very different than when I was reading about Peggy Hopkins Joyce. Marjorie was generous and she was kind. And I think she was, very civic minded and understood her role as sort of a captain of industry, because she did join the board of General Foods very young in her life after her father died. So, for example, she volunteered in World War II. She funded soup kitchens during the Great Depression, and she donated lots of her possessions, many of her jewels, her furniture, her paintings, and her entire estate, Hillwood in Washington, D.C., to the Smithsonian. Now, Hillwood is no longer part of the Smithsonian. They weren't able to keep it up, and it has become now its own private museum. So Marjorie married 4 times. The first one was to a guy by the name of E.B. Close. They married in 1905. They had 2 kids, and they were divorced in 1919. And E.B. Close would become the paternal grandfather of actress Glenn Close. Little fact about Mr. Close. The year later, Marjorie married Edward Francis Hutton, or E.F. Hutton. Yes, that E.F. Hutton. They divorced in 1935. They had 1 daughter named Nadina, and she would grow up to become the famous actress Dina Merrill. Now, husband number 3 was Joseph Davies. They were married in 1935 and they divorced in 1955. She actually accompanied him to Russia when he was appointed the U.S. ambassador to that country. There was a book written about her life there, and actually the movie rights to her time in Russia were optioned. I don't think it ever became a movie. I'm going to have to do a little bit of research on that, but there was talk of a movie at some point. And then in 1958, she married a guy by the name of Herbert May, and they divorced in 1964. All throughout her life, Marjorie Merriweather Post assembled a spectacular collection of gems and jewelry. This is one of the books that I have been referencing for this information. I just adore the cover of this. It's beautiful rubies and then a cluster of diamonds in a lovely flower shape. It's a brooch. And it's filled, this book is filled with the most eye candy, the most beautiful gems you've ever seen. We're going to take a peek at some of them. So obviously she loved emeralds, such as the Maximilian emerald, which she bought from Cartier. She also loved a Mughal style stone, an Indian carved stone, which ended up becoming a brooch. I'll show you a couple of pictures of her wearing it. Very lovely. I love the carving on this, and then the faceted sort of the square cuts or the cushion cuts on either side, and then the little pear-shaped drops down below. And then this spectacular piece of jewelry is a fabulous Indian style drop bead necklace. You can see all these beautiful polished round beads, both below the platinum and diamonds, and then also there are some above. And finally, I'll show you a picture of this fabulous pendant brooch that was made by Cartier. She also loved this lovely emerald parure. It belonged to Empress Marie Louise, Napoleon's first wife. And sometime during the period that Cartier had it, I believe, they replaced the emeralds with turquoise. And there's a number of images of Marjorie Merriweather Post wearing the turquoise parure during her time at Palm Beach and in her life. So here's a portrait of Marjorie wearing the Maximilian emerald ring when she was presented to the court of St. James in 1929. You can see her beautiful light green dress, her pearls, her shoulder epaulette piece, the piece of jewelry called an epaulette, her gorgeous emerald bracelets, and then of course she's showing off that fabulous Maximilian emerald. She also wore it to the coronation of King George VI in 1937. That King George VI was Elizabeth's father. You can see little Elizabeth there at the railing at the coronation. But she lost it during an event at Buckingham Palace. Thankfully, the ring was eventually found and returned to Marjorie. Here's an image of Marjorie posing with the Mughal-style brooch. It's attached to a beautiful string of pearls that she's wearing. And here's a portrait of Marjorie posing with both that Mughal-style brooch, just simply as a brooch, not attached to the pearls in this case. Instead, she's wearing the Indian-style emerald drop necklace, and I'm wondering if that's the Maximilian emerald on her right hand. It's beautiful. And finally, here is Marjorie posing with her daughter in that Indian style pendant that just drapes over her shoulders. Can you imagine how heavy that thing must have been? My goodness. Marjorie was also the owner of the Blue Heart, which is now part of the Smithsonian's National Gem Collection. This gorgeous sapphire fringe necklace by Cartier. Here's a portrait of Marjorie wearing that same necklace. An amethyst, turquoise, and diamond necklace by Cartier. Isn't this stunning? Those amethysts are the size of walnuts. My goodness. Wow. And look at the little heart-shaped amethyst as well. So there's oval amethyst and heart-shaped amethysts, plus the turquoise and the diamonds. Here's a picture. Sadly, it's not in color, but it's that picture of Marjorie with her fourth husband, Herbert May, and she's wearing that amethyst, turquoise, and diamond necklace. So lovely. I wonder if she's wearing the Maximilian emerald there on her right hand. She also owned a diamond necklace that was owned by Empress Marie Louise, Napoleon's first wife. This is also part of the Smithsonian's National Gem Collection. Stunning. Here's a ruby, diamond, silver, and gold parure, earrings, and a drop necklace. So pretty. And many more, such as this diamond spray necklace and this moonstone and pearl necklace. I'd take that. That's really lovely. A couple of earrings and a tiara, just encrusted with diamonds. Fabergé eggs. Isn't that something? Wow. Beautiful, beautiful. Oh, and here is Marjorie with one of our other drama queens. This is Evelyn Walsh McLean at her Palm Beach home, Mar-a-Lago. They were indeed contemporaries. So yes, Mar-a-Lago was the center of Palm Beach social life when Marjorie lived there. She built this big, beautiful place. Here's Marjorie setting up for a shot at the golf course links. She also had a home in Washington, D.C. called Hillwood. It was her private residence, but it's now a museum open to the public. And here's an image of the beautiful gardens, the Japanese garden, and some of the interiors. So here's the emerald. Here's the image of the emerald that I was using as my design inspiration. And this is the point at which I began making that transition from looking at it as a gemstone to then looking at it as a quilt block. And when I looked at it, for me, what popped out were these diagonal lines that go from the top to the bottom and intersect in the very center. Then I thought, well, let's go ahead and carve out those edges and then connect the sides. And as you can see, I just began carving her up, taking some liberties in terms of the number of facets, as well as the coloration, because I really wanted it to be a spectacular gemstone. And so here's Maximilian's Folly pattern on a black background. What I wanted to do with this particular colorway was really wrap the colors around the green on both the yellow and the blue side. I wanted there to be some minty blue greens as well as some more yellow acid greens as well. And I'm trying to experiment more and more with these bright, intense saturated colors surrounded more by grade hues that really make a gemstone glow. So those are some of the things that I'm beginning to work on now with my art. So here is the Maximilian Emerald colorway on a white background. You can see the colorways do kind of wrap around green, both on the yellow side and on the blue side. Here is the emerald in a ruby colorway. And you can see I like to use those more saturated colors with more grade tones to make it really glow like embers. Here's the ruby on white. Here's sapphire. sapphire on white. And you can see I don't use a white for the A facet. I use a light blue. I'm not sure that I would, if I were to do the sapphire, I would do it on white, because if you look down here at the lower right side of the gemstone, this line really kind of tends to disappear. It looks like there might be a chunk missing out of it. So if you want to do sapphire, really consider doing the black background. Or another option is for you to just replace that one facet with a different color. Here's the pattern in yellow. This is the yellow that we used for the polar star, last month's polar star. And I also want to just point out one thing to you. Again, here it is in white, but do you see how for the A facet, the A pieces, I used a light yellow, but for the B pieces, I used a white. So I just flipped the white and the lightest value of yellow between the A and the B. I did that specifically. So I did that for two reasons. One, again, I didn't want white. I think this is an A facet, and I didn't want white on white because it would definitely look like there was a chunk missing out of it. And two, there were many more B facets than A facets, and I wanted the center part of the gemstone in the yellow colorway to really kind of glow with that white light. So here again, A is yellow and B is white, a little bit reversed from some of the typical ways I design the patterns. And finally, here it is in the diamond color on a black background and on a white background. You'll see I've done the same thing with the A and B facets where I've flipped them. B is white and A is the lightest neutral. I hope you've had fun with this and learned a little bit, and really have a great time with the Diamonds and Drama Queens patterns. I can't wait to see what you create, and be sure to post your progress pictures on our Facebook page. All right, you all, take care. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.